Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Wilhelm Scream, and welcome back to another day in Destiny 2 for some more Destiny 2 news and Beyond Light, Season of the Chosen Intel. And in this video, we're going to be going through some XP farms and glitches. These are great if you're trying to max out your season rank if you haven't already, or if you're just going for some added power through your artifact. Some of these things I've talked about in the past, some are new, some are old but with new twists. The first thing you're going to want to make sure you have, if you are looking to farm out some XP, the most useful material is Glimmer. I know it seems simple, but you're going to want to make sure that you have as much Glimmer as possible. The easiest way to acquire Glimmer fast is through the Spider, as he sells 10,000 Glimmer for certain planetary materials on any given day. Whatever planetary material is being sold for legendary shards on a given day, I would just stack up on it while it's available, as legendary shards are usually a lot more available than Glimmer sometimes. Get some materials and then wait for that said material to be sold for Glimmer and then just max out. I always come to the Spider every single day and just buy whatever materials are being sold for legendary shards if there are some. Usually there's at least one, sometimes two like today, sometimes three. I just usually stack up on them because eventually there will be Glimmer being exchanged for that said planetary material. The reason you want Glimmer is because Glimmer buys bounties. I know that seems fairly self-evident, and I'm sure most people are like, where are you going with this right now? But like I said, you're going to want to have as much Glimmer as possible so that you can buy bounties. Most notably, the repeatable bounties, as most normal bounties are sold for 250 Glimmer, where repeatable bounties are sold for 3,000 Glimmer. Now, I know what everybody's saying. What does this have to do with XP farms and glitches? Well, I'm getting there. So, repeatable bounties allow you to do the same bounties for one particular vendor, or sometimes several vendors, over and over again. Now, you'll have your weekly bounties that will always be refreshed at the beginning of every week. But once those are done, you're just basically stuck with the repeatable ones. Repeatable bounties are great because, well, like I said, you can use them over and over again, and some of them are really, really quick to do. Now, in the tower, there are, I believe, 4 vendors that have repeatable bounties, but we're really only going to focus on 2. ZAVALA and the Gunsmith. The reason we're going to focus on those 2 is because those are the only 2 bounties that can be done together. The Gunsmith can really be done with anyone, but they're the only ones that can be done conveniently together. Let me preface it by saying that. Convenience. And that's really what we're going for, convenience. We want to be able to farm out as many bounties from as many different vendors as we can in the shortest period of time. Now, beyond the vendors in the tower, there are vendors on all the planets, as some probably know. But of all those planetary vendors, there are only 2 that actually have repeatable bounties, and that's the ones on the moon and on Europa. On Europa, you can head on over to this guy, Varix, and he will have repeatable bounties. You can also head over to Eris Morn on the moon, and she will also have repeatable bounties. Now, an easy way to farm out the bounties from both ZAVALA, the Gunsmith, and either Europa or the moon is to essentially go into a strike and then do the regular planetary activities such as public events or lost sectors. All of those will cumulatively grant you the bounty progression needed to cash in all 3. You'll get ZAVALA because you're in a strike, and you'll get the rest because, well, the ones on Europa only require you to usually do activities on Europa, just out in general play, sometimes in lost sectors, sometimes just doing public events or just killing enemies. And it's the same on the moon. So what you would do if you were on Europa, and it's a very simple way to do this, is you would just, like I said, go to the tower, stack up on the ZAVALA bounties as well as the Gunsmith bounties, and then head over to Varix, pick up all the bounties for Europa activities, and then queue up the Glassway strike, and instead of actually doing the strike, just go out into the open world and do the activities that are required from these bounties. They'll count for the things for the strike, because technically any kill, so long as you've queued up a strike, will count towards those, and you can see how this is advantageous. This isn't a new thing. This is a fairly well-known thing. I will say the Glassway is great because you're basically spawning into the open world. So I would say that Europa is actually the best place to just farm out XP at the moment. The other place, and I would say it is a little bit trickier and you do need a glitch to actually do it, is, as I said, the moon. You can pick up Eris Morn's bounties and go into the Scarlet Keep strike. The Scarlet Keep strike is a little bit different because there is a wall that actually prevents you from getting into the open world. But you can do a little bit of clever jumping and jump over that wall and you're out into the open world. And then you could just make your way into the closest lost sector, which I actually find to be the best lost sector to farm for this particular kind of farming method. Head on in there, and anything you get in this lost sector will count towards all 3 bounties. You just have to bring the right weapons to trigger the bounty queues. So whatever the bounties stipulate, just bring a whole mess of weapons. You can use the third-party apps to just swap weapons, and it's fairly simple. So that's it if you're just looking to farm bounties. I would say the Glassway is probably the easiest accessible bounty farm for XP, whereas the Scarlet Keep is probably the most convenient if you can get past that one little jump barrier. I also would say that, interestingly enough, when I would spawn into a Glassway strike, there would be different times where I would spawn in, meaning sometimes I would spawn in with a group that's already in the progress of the strike, so I would have to reload the strike before I could actually go out and farm stuff. Sometimes you spawn right in the beginning and you can just head out and do what you need to do. Hopefully without your teammates, if you're just doing this in matchmaking, without them progressing through the strike and pulling you later on. Interesting thing about the Scarlet Keep strike, I routinely would spawn in already outside of the barrier. This was because a lot of people, for some reason, were already doing essentially what I was trying to do. And for some reason, when I would spawn in on someone who already had that particular strike in progress, though already outside of the barrier and just farming the lost sectors, I would spawn outside the lost sectors. And then I could actually just go pick up the bounties again, even though I was in the strike. You can do that in the Glassway strike as well. The only thing that's inconvenient about a lot of this is you can't fast travel. But, like I said, just go to a lost sector and farm out as many bounties as you want. Now, the next thing I'm going to be sharing with you is something I talked about in my last video. If you didn't see my last video, well, we're going to cover it again. This is for the Shattered Throne Dungeon. Now, the Shattered Throne Dungeon has one unique area, the Endless Thrall Room. Now, in my last video, I shared with you a way that you can actually get to the Endless Thrall Room through a glitch that allows you to bypass all of the dungeon up until that point. This also gives you no death barrier. So, unlike doing the dungeon normally, if you die, you just spawn in at the last place that your ghost was standing on, like solid ground, or the last room that you were standing in. So most of it you can just rush right through, not worrying about dying, because you're just going to spawn basically at the place that you died. This lets you get to the Endless Thrall Room, where you can then set up an AFK, XP, and Glimmer farm. So this might be the thing that you want to do before you actually go and start doing the bounties. Another thing too is that once you have all the bounties done for a particular vendor that week, you're going to get an XP bonus when you go and get the weekly reward. So this is the kind of thing you'd probably want to do first. So in my last video, I shared with you the entire route to the spot of the Endless Thrall Room, and once you're in the Endless Thrall Room, there is a specific area that you need to actually stand in to actually get XP to continually count. It will always count at the beginning, but there will be a point in time where XP will no longer count unless you're standing in this one particular area. This is best done on a Titan, because the Titan with the bottom tree Sunbreaker, I believe it is, as well as the ACD feedback fence, can just create wells that essentially give you AFKs. Once you spawn the well, you just stand in it, all enemies will die once they enter the well, and you will also get your health back. So this is the general route. Again, I showed this in my last video, but essentially you just jump off the ledge there. There's a little death barrier, and then you'll queue into the descent, the next section once you die. If you're a little hazy upon what specifically I'm doing, just follow the route, or you can reference back to my last video. But then once you're in the Endless Thrall Room, if you also have an endless looped emote, that's the big trick. I think a lot of people have probably used this room or might have even heard of this farm before. But the thing about it is that you used to be able to stand in there for as long as you wanted. Eventually, you will get kicked back to orbit. However, if you have an endless loop emote, and what I mean by endless loop emote is an emote that essentially does not end, one that continually goes through the same motion over and over again. So a dance emote, or in my case, I was using, I think, the disc jockey emote, or the sweeper bot emote, or the coin. There's a ton of them. There's probably more endless emotes than there are non. I was using the disc jockey emote because that one seems to work really, really well. If you stand on the right spot in that particular emote for as long as you really want, I think it'll eventually kick you back to orbit, but it will take about 45 minutes. So you can essentially stand there emoting for 45 minutes and you will not get removed. You'll be able to just continually farm out thrall kills. You'll get glimmer as well as XP. You can also use the buff on your ghost. All exotic ghosts have the ability to buff XP. That'll give you 6 times, I believe, your normal amount of XP that you'll receive from any activity, I believe even just enemy kills. So make sure that that's on your ghost before you do this. But then just make your way through the dungeon as normal. Again, you don't have to worry about dying, and that's the big thing about this particular glitch that makes it really advantageous, because I always liked being able to go down into the Endless Thrall Room and just farm out stuff, but it's not that easy to get there solo by yourself, and sometimes it doesn't seem worth it after a while. If you spend 45 minutes just getting down to a room to go AFK while you farm glimmer and XP, it's not really worth it. But if you can get down there in 5 minutes, well, that's a lot more worth it. So this is the kind of thing that if you're just taking a break from the game, maybe you're eating dinner, or you're watching a show, or maybe you're in school and you're doing some homework, and you just want to farm out some extra XP and glimmer to maybe then go buy some bounties so that you can do even more XP farming, this is what you're going to want to do. So you can jump on the left side of the room. You do not have to worry about the ogres once you get here. Just make your way into the Endless Thrall Room. And then once we're in there, I'll show you exactly where you need to stand in order to continually get XP so you don't run out. I don't know exactly how long it takes normally if you stand in other spots, but it seems like after 5 minutes or so, if you just are standing in the same spot, you'll stop getting XP from the Endless Thrall. I don't know why this one particular area seems to work, but just trust me that that's where you need to be. So I like to use the ACD feedback fence, like I said earlier. That just adds a little extra buffer to the damage. Another great thing about this glitch that I also talked about in my last video is you can actually use this to go and get the first and second secret chest. I won't talk about how to go to the second secret chest in this particular video, but you can go down here, just jump right off the edge, and you can actually get that first secret chest. And this does reward some pretty good loot. I mean, it's all Dreaming City loot. The shotgun for the Dreaming City right now is like super meta. Everybody talking about how it's the next Fellwinter's Lie and all that. I don't know about all that. I don't know how the meta is functioning at the moment, but this is a way that if you were trying to just farm out rolls or possibly get that particular shotgun, or some just good gear, because it does drop fairly well-rounded gear. This is something you could do to farm that. You go down here, you get the chest, go right through the teleporter again, and then you're going to head off to your left. It pops you right back up on top. And then just make your way down this hallway. Head up these stairs and make a right. Make a right again, and then stand in this general vicinity in this corner. I like to kind of back myself right up against, there's like a little, looks like a little bench sitting there right along the side of the railway. Just stand right there, start a Sun Warrior well, and then just stand in it and let the thrall come, and you'll get XP, you'll get some glimmer, and that's pretty much it. So thank you all so much for watching all the way through today's video. If you made it this far, please leave a hashtag Beyond Light or a hashtag Season of the Chosen in the comment section down below. And as always, I am Wilhelm Scream. Of course, we will see you in the next video. Little